We're good. Good morning. Good morning. Here we are. We're live now, guys. We got a chance to chit chat a little bit offline for a second. So I was just like I was telling you guys here. I was looking really forward to being able to do this interview. I put you guys out there as like a power couple. That's how I telling everybody. I said I'm looking forward to this group, and I said, and I've only known him through a Facebook group that we happened to be in, a leadership group together, and that it
Right.
just happened to catch my, your guys's just happened to catch my interest. Nate, I think it was first of all, some of my best friends are trainers. They made the biggest impact in my life. I have two of them here. One's named Ronnie Camacho, and the other one's Stan McQuay.
Okay.
Both of them huge in the bodybuilding world, and I teach both their children martial arts, and so they've been a real important part of my life. And we'll talk about all that here in just a second.
Nice.
And so I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. I know this is Nate and your wife. This is your wife, Arielle, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys introduce yourself, talk about your life fitness group real quick, and what you guys do, and then we're going to just get right into some questions I have for you. Sound good?
Sounds
Sounds
great.
good.
All right. So go right ahead, Nate. Go ahead and take it away if you're going to go
Absolutely.
first.
Absolutely. If you don't mind me going first.
You
Okay.
do what
Okay.
you do best.
So yeah, my name's Nate Simpson. It's my wife, Arielle Simpson, and we have a company called the Life Fitness Group. A little bit about me before I dive into what the Life Fitness Group is. I've spent the last 17 years in fitness. Fitness has definitely been my, not only my passion, but my life's work. I tell people all the time that I really feel that if you get involved in something that you've had personal struggles with and personal obstacles with, and you find ways to overcome that, then that could be what you best, are of service to other people with. And that's my story with fitness. Coming from a child struggling to make weight in Pee Wee League football, all the way up into high school, struggling to make weight to be wrestling, and doing that and using those challenges, if you would, to kind of level myself up at every stage of my life is something that I've done, and being able to see, the rewards from a fitness side has kind of propelled me into my career of saying, okay, I know what benefit that gave me mentally, what benefit they gave me physically, to know that I can set a goal and accomplish it as a child. How can I keep that going long term? And I kind of made that my career, going into fitness and going into it. But me and Arielle, we've been together now, high school sweethearts. We've met when I was just turned 16. She just turned 14. So
Oh my.
she's actually seen these struggles with me firsthand. And as I struggled with fitness and making it my career, she actually, and she'll tell you herself, she dove into mental health and finding a way that she can, provide services and helping people on that aspect get to where they need to be emotionally, mentally, to be able to be stronger, to achieve what they want to achieve. And we always noticed, even early in our careers, when she was going in her path to, be a behavioral health specialist and a counselor, and I was going my path to be a personal trainer, that there always was a nice marriage in between, what somebody needs to work on to get to their physical goals is a lot of times always backed in what's going on mentally. And vice versa. Through conversations with my wife, she would tell me, people who were having mental struggles, if they were able to incorporate some of the physical components of what I do, just how much greater would they be? It's funny, when I got into fitness, I spent so much time, doing assessments and working with people, and not even necessarily knowing that I was learning any behavioral change techniques or anything therapeutic, so to speak. But as I got to talking to my wife and talking to family and talking to other professionals, and I told people how I would go through assessments and getting people to make these changes, I learned that what I was doing was therapeutic approaches in that time period in itself. So, naturally, being a partner, being a team, I leveraged my wife's knowledge and asking her, well, how can I do this? How can I be a little bit more effective? How can I create a greater impact? And she would help me. She would train me on what I need to do to train the clients, or to get the clients to be more open to whatever I was asking them to do to actually work towards their goals. That being said, that happened and happened back, back in when I would say maybe a year into our marriage, and we've been married 15 years now. We had an idea of how we could marry the concept of, the fitness and the mental health, putting them together and providing one awesome product for people that they can really get what they need to get to the next level without having to be scatterbrained and go to multiple different professionals to get different opinions and different approaches. If they can just go to one place and be able to get all the help that they would need. We truly felt even back then, 14, 15 years ago, that would be the ultimate solution for everybody. Now, that being said, and I think we talked about this offline, life came up, and it's always really good to have a really good idea with the best intentions behind it. But sometimes, finances, family obligations, career ambitions, you name it, there can be a gambit of things that get in the way of actually seeing those ideas through. And as we quickly grew from being a family of just us two to a family of six, because we have four children now,
Mhm.
things would come up where we would have to say, okay, well, that dream sounded great, but we need to put that dream on the back burner because we have to make we have to make an income. We have to make an income. Um, and that's what I did. I've had the privilege to work in a few different industries. I kind of took a step away from fitness a few years ago, about 5 years ago, and I went to the financial service and insurance industry, and I learned a lot about business. I did. I was able to hit a high level of success in that industry. But what I did learn about that business is that having financial success doesn't necessarily give you the return that you need when you're looking for a purpose and when you're looking to fuel a purpose and really give back to people. So, full circle, 2020 hit, COVID hit. I was doing very good in the financial services, but I had to hit the brakes and kind of reset and look at life and really weigh things out and say, am I doing what I intended to do when we started this journey? And to that point, honestly, I was making a great income, but at that point in time, the answer was no, because I wasn't necessarily living in service in that moment. I was living for profit. And that's okay if what you're profiting on is your passion, in my opinion. And in my opinion, it wasn't, because I wasn't necessarily helping people in fitness for that period of time outside of myself and my family. I was just going after the financial gain. So we went back to the drawing board, and we said, well, now you have all this business experience and business sense. How can we apply that business sense towards what you learned, towards what we really wanted to focus on? And that rebirthed the Life Fitness Group a little over a year ago. We put our ideas back into action. We put our marriage, not only of our actual marriage, but our marriage of our skill sets back in action. And we
Mhm.
found ways that we can leverage our abilities to help the community, but to do it in such a way where we'll be able to give them long lasting results. But more importantly, they won't create a dependency on us to maintain their results. We'll be able to make sure that they have the knowledge and the capabilities to maintain what they're getting long term, and that ultimately is our big goal.
Oh, that's great. Well, Ariel, let's go on your side. So tell us about what you did on your side, how you decided to go to the mental side of things.
Okay, so like Nate was saying, it really is about your life experience, kind of bringing you to your bigger purpose. So for me, I grew up in a family that had some struggles with mental health issues. When I went to college, I actually had a lot of opportunities to explore what I was interested in, and of course, psychology is probably one of the most interesting classes that you kind of have to take as part of your core curriculum. And I just really fell in love with
Mm.
the knowledge base behind all of it, the people that were drawn to the departments. I had some great mentors that let me know what was available in the mental health field. And I actually got a graduate assistantship at my local school. So my grad school was all taken care of, and I got my degree in counseling. So I've been working as a mental health counselor. I'm licensed in a couple of states, actually. So I've been able to work both in person and online. I have tons of experience with trauma disorders specifically. So everything from mental to moving across the country, um, families breaking up and having to deal with divorce issues, things like that. even to like mass shooting victims and their families. I've kind of seen it all
Wow.
in that area.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I've been doing some kind of deep work and also kind of on the surface level, those more common issues of depression, anxiety. I was really interested in the issue of like body dysmorphia in the physical fitness arena for a while. So I've done some research in that area as well and worked with a couple of people on just that self image and dealing with the anxiety of like, I don't really feel like I see what everyone around me sees in terms of their body image and things like that.
That's really well, that's really interesting. So this is why I do things raw right here.
Mhm.
Okay. What we like I tell everybody I don't really have a list of questions when I do this. And so you both of you have said a couple things that I want to hit on.
Mhm.
And because it hits me personally, just so you know. Okay. And then I'll let you know. But first with Nate, okay. You said something in there. Well, both of you said you said that your Ariella, you said your family had some mental health issues,
Mhm.
and so you went down that line. And Nate, you said something about it you struggling, and so what with fitness. I want to explore that. What does that mean? So I hear that you wrestled and stuff. So
Yeah.
when you say you struggled with fitness, were you an underweight kid? Were you a fat kid? Were you what'd you do? And about cutting weight, cutting weight anyway is already a psychological
Oh yeah. Certainly.
game.
Certainly.
So
So I mean, for me, I was always and still am, the fat kid of mind. And kind of to Ariel's point, I grew up in a family where all of my family was large. But unlike me, my father was 6'4", 400 pounds. My brother
mm,
6'4.5". He is 400, some odd pounds. But me, I was 5'7". So to be 5'7", to be 5'7", 400 pounds,
yeah,
it wasn't necessarily going to be, it wasn't going to work in my favor. They would see my brother, they would see my dad walking down the street, and people would move to the side. But when it was me, I was more like a circle. So it wasn't the same sort of intimidation factor that the taller gentleman used to get. So I knew a long time ago that I had a decision to make, and I was going to be big regardless. It was either was I going to be big and muscular, or was I going to be big and out of shape, because it was just in my genetics that I was going to be a heavier person. And for me, it really was a lot of times when people have that working against them, and I don't even want to say against them because it sounds bad, but a lot of times when you come from a heavier family, or everybody around you is a certain way, you tend to believe that you have to be that way too, and there's nothing that you can do about it. But I, at the age of, I want to say 15 was the first time I decided that I was going to do something about it. I was just of a different mindset, and I had a friend who was a big impact to me one summer, who took me to the track and ran with me every single day. But
mm,
once I realized that that was not like my destiny and I had control, I just had to learn what to do and actually do it. It was a game changer for me, and it's been my life's work ever since I was 15 years old to be on top of that. And I've lost sight of it sometimes, just to be truthful, as every human does. Life gets in the way. One motivation and one ambition leads to another. And then, if you're not, especially somebody who struggled with it your whole life, if you're not focused on it, you can easily blow up 20, 30, 40 pounds in the wrong direction. But it's been my life's work not to do that, because I discovered at a very young age that I had the ability and the say to how I was going to look physically and how my health was going to be too.
yeah, that is, and so yeah. Now you've hit a couple things there for like on a personal note for me, and I tell my students this quite often. When I was in junior high, um, I was lifting weights pretty early on, so I was kind of always on the bigger end of things, not just fat, but I'm just talking about, I was just more muscular than most kids, and kids back in those days, and we're talking about in 1970s, when I was in junior high school. But boy, man, you got called a lot of names, man.
Oh yeah.
And I in one of these podcasts, I said, you're either this jolly ollie fat kid, or you are just a you almost to a point a bully yourself, and
Right.
that was me. You know what I mean? I learned really on that my fist made a lot of difference in people opening up their mouth, right? So uh uh and and then so I look back on that, and I'm just like, wow, I don't know that. And then when I went into martial arts, I was already kind of, I went in because of my brother, and because he was getting ready to go, and I was 8 years older than my brother, and I went into martial arts, and even there, even today, it's weird. So when you see me, I mean, I'm a pretty big dude for, I still lift, and but I always knew that, uh, people, I'm not your typical looking martial artist.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, if I can kick you in the face, it's, I remember that vividly. Like, you don't underestimate. I mean, don't judge books by its cover, man. If there's anything I learned in martial arts, it was that. I could tell you that.
Right.
And so I would totally relate to everything that you're saying there. And then Arielle, then you talked about this body dysmorphia. Now, and I said, what caught my eye is all my children, all my children have this. My oldest son, Michael, you wouldn't know it when you looked at him. He weighs 145, 148 pounds now. And he too, he lost 100 and he my all my son's lost over 100 pounds, right?
Mhm.
And he completely changed his life. And this was going on 10 years ago now. But my son tells me today, my 28-year-old, he goes, and I mean, he's thin as can be. And he goes, yeah, I don't know, Dad. It's a lot of times when I look in the mirror, I don't see that. I still see this, this fat kid. And my other son that had an eating disorder and lost his weight, he's super thin too. He's probably 145, just like Michael is. And Daniel says the same thing. He goes, man, I can't look at myself, because he was throwing up. We talked about this off camera, right, Arielle? And for you to have an interest in that, what made you have an interest in that? What brought that to you?
So I wouldn't say that I'm like a total specialist in that area, but Nate's talking about his origin story. I met him kind of right after he dropped a ton of weight. So I had
Ah,
no idea that he was fighting that kind of battle, right? Tons of confidence. And like a little while later, he told me that the thing that kind of snapped him out of like that kind of thinking fat or like having that self image was something that someone had said to him, a friend said to him, and it totally changed his mindset. So I think he was like one of my first people that I was aware of. Like, we have this internal dialogue about how we look when we look in the mirror versus what other people see. And I was shocked because I thought he was like super ribbed, super intense. I would have never imagined. Like, he showed me some of his pictures from the year before, and I was like, this is not you. This has to be your brother. This has to be your brother. Um, and through his years of being in the gym, and I had encounters with like some of his coworkers. He worked really closely with people who did all kinds of bodybuilding shows, bikini models, and things like that. And it was just amazing to like talk to these people and have conversations with me seeing them one way, and hearing them talk a bit about how they approach their meals, how they think about food, how they think about themselves when they look in the mirror. It was just total worlds apart, what I saw versus what they saw. And I was really interested in like, at least how to like help some of our friends and people that we were really close to be more productive in what they were doing, either at work or with trying to meet their goals with getting to their shows. So.
yeah. This is what was super attracted to me. Even your business, this life fitness coach, because there is a component. It's for a man, at least. When I go in, I'm a little older than you guys, so Nate, you might understand that when I go in the weight room back in the 80s in the weight room, man, it was it was the big boys. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Mhm.
Frank Zane and all these guys, and old school weights. You know what I mean? You hear the iron
Oh
clanging. This is just how that's my home gym is. I got all iron weights. I want to hear the iron. I want to hear it clang. I want to hear that. I want to hear that stuff. And you put headphones on, and it's like, you don't. I'm not there to socialize at the gym. I'm there to get work done. But I had like my main one, Ronnie Camacho. You guys can look him up. Ronnie Camacho or Stan, but Ronnie is the one that I saw him in the gym, and I said, "There's something about him." I felt he was a martial artist, and I just kind of watched him with people, and he has this component of being able to talk to you, right? And I struggled. Listen, I had personal trainers for years, and then I still didn't lose any weight. I mean, I'm strong as a bull, but I even even when I was trying to put my diet in check, and it wasn't until these blood clots, and then I found this, my other one that runs one of my other gyms, and he did this contest with keto, and he dropped, and he's older, he's 50, and I'm like, well, if Jay can do this, I can do this, and that's what jumped me on that wagon. And then I had a mind shift where, hey, listen, I can't rely on I got to rely on me here. I can't rely on everybody else to it. But I'll tell you, I've been in the gym, Nate, where doing curls or whatever, and I just telling him about my struggles for the week, and tears are streaming down my face, tears are streaming down his face, because it gets. If you've been fat, you know exactly what I'm talking about,
Oh,
man. It gets real,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
okay, and so you get an alpha, and then you get all this pent up aggression, and the tears are coming down because you're like, I just can't deal with this. And then to see your children go through it is a hard thing. And so to hear uh, Arielle talk about the mental side, I'm interested on how you guys merge this. I want to know, Nate, if you have somebody on this side, do you guys work together with a client? Is that what's happening, or how does that work? Or Arielle, are you his support to say this is what you should talk to, or does the clients come to you guys both? How does this work in your deal?
So, that, and that's a great question. So the way that, in an ideal situation, in the way that it's envisioned, the way that it should be, is that it's incorporated from both of us, from every client, from start to finish. And what I mean is, if you look at the assessment protocol, and if you look at how clients are brought in and what the conversation is from the very beginning, typically from a fitness component, we're only specifically talking about your fitness goals and why you want to get your fitness goals and how that's going to help your fitness goals. And that's great when that intrinsic motivation to hit your fitness goals is high in that moment. But what you see is, and what I've seen is over the years of being in fitness, is that moment, as soon as that client or that individual walks away from that first interaction, as soon as that interaction's over and that emotion is gone, it starts going down lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until that person eventually quits, or something happens that is more exciting in their life and they stop their goals. So our approach is really tying in the mental and the physical from the very beginning, and seeing if we can get a hotter or a larger hot button, a larger motivational trigger from the beginning, really engulfed in what their goal is. So when we're working towards their goals, we have more tools at our disposal to make sure we're not losing focus as to what they're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So how do you, Arielle, how do you get in people's head then? How do you help them? What do you do?
It's
you
not
know?
magic. It's not magic. You
Well, you're right about that. It's definitely not magic. There definitely has to be some kind of tools.
yeah.
It's like, I tell you, when I told you when I was going through my divorce, like if I didn't go through an anger management course and get some tools to
Mhm.
help my head not explode, so that's what I'm interested in. How you help people with that? How do you do that?
Okay. I think it first off starts with like a really welcoming like intention. Everyone that I talk to, I'm very interested in, what they want to achieve. I'm invested from day one. And I think that kind of comes across in every relationship that I build. I ask a ton of questions about how a person thinks about the goals they're trying to achieve, what are some of the barriers that they've been dealing with, and try to gauge, what kind of skills are they needing? Are they needing more stress management skills? Or are they needing more of what's called cognitive coping skills? Is their way of thinking a little bit off? And we can look at ways to tweak that. Um, there may be some other bigger issues kind of in the mix that need to be handled. I don't go into therapy. We're definitely not diagnosing or treating
Hmm.
any kind of mental health disorders, but I do have that background that kind of lets me know if our service is what's appropriate. And I'm always, looking to offer our clients, that kind of feedback, like, you know what, I think this is something that's a little beyond our scope. So this is maybe what you should kind of consider. So it's, also a matter of, helping people understand what's going on with them in terms of how they're thinking and responding to the questions that we're asking them.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I think that's definitely. I just think that that's a powerful thing. The whole thing, because you'll get me emotional here because you're talking stuff that's right down my alley. You know what I mean? And I have a heart for people that struggle with this, and I have a heart for people that struggle. Period. With just how they think about themselves. Because as a martial arts instructor, I see the whole gamut. I see whether they've had trauma like you talk about, whether they've been attacked, whether they've been beat up, or they've been raped or attempted and or made fun of. Even the aspect of as an adult in a work environment where you don't have the mental capacity to know how to stand up for yourself, you know what I mean, or being hassled at work and what that looks like. And I think the other thing that I heard you guys talk about, Arielle and Nate, both you guys, you talked about how important the physical side is to your mental health. I just know if I didn't have, from me personally, and then I'd like to get some of your guys' experiences and maybe some of your clients, you know what I mean? But, you know, there's a few things with me. So, and I see this with my military friends and my, police officers and stuff like that. But if you don't have purpose, if you don't have a purpose anymore, and when I got these diagnosed for blood clots and I had to go on blood thinners, and I'm still on these stupid things, and that I can't physically do my stand up fighting anymore because I can't take head trauma like I used to. I can't take like hook punches to the head and stuff. This is what I grew up doing. This is what I love,
Right.
and and I think that put me into a very depressed mode. And I was still teaching. I had knee replacement on my left knee, and my right's not the best, and then you get heavier, and then it's just like it just continued on a downward, spiral. And then Brazilian Jiu Jitsu came along 2 years ago, and I was like, wow, I can do something physical here. I can. It's like fighting, and it allows me to release. This is just me personally. Now I'm sure
Right.
Nate, women may not relate to it like a man will, but if I couldn't release that and release that aggression, and the same as pushing weights, being that physical, my son Daniel, he runs. He's a runner. That's what does it for him. You know what I mean? The one that lost all that weight. And so I see that, you guys talk about that. I'd like to know that on how you relate that to your people, the physical side, and do you see the results if somebody that's not physical at all and they start getting very physically, uh, do you see them really gravitate towards it, and how do you keep them focused so that they can continue on that physical, you know quest per se, I guess.
Hmm. I feel like that brings to mind like the wall of pain. Someone that's not really physical, just
Hmm.
giving them the motivation to kind of hang in there, but to break through that wall of pain. I think it's really important for people to find whatever form of exercise that really fits them. Some people may be really into like step classes or the jujitsu or running. Like, I'm not a runner. Nate loves to run. I don't like to see like how far I'm going. That really bothers me to like see myself getting so far away from home. I'm not a fan, but I can spin. I can do like the cycling for a while, and I like more hit style things. So I think it's really important for people to like give different types of exercise a try so that they can really get that kind of endorphin hook find something that makes them feel a little excited, get that music right, because that is another mental component, in my opinion, that gets someone the ability to exercise for longer and be a little more entertained, connecting with that right workout mix for them that's
Right.
going to, carry them through.
So do you find, Nate, when you're doing training now? Listen, it sounds like your life fitness coach. Some aspects can be virtual. It looks like, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Uh, you know what I mean? That if is yeah, Jose's been on here the whole time, man. Yeah, he's all about it right now. I the mental side of things. That's why I don't know if you guys have heard of Andy Frisella's 75 Hard or
Oh
not.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you right now that completely changed me when I decided to do it. Now I've done it 3 times, right? Now I've done it 5 times. Uh I failed 2 of the times. Uh and one of them I did it, but yeah, I half-assed did it. That's
Right.
exactly what I did. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
And I checked off boxes. I didn't really think, but the mental challenge that I got from 75 Hard, it completely changed me. I don't know. Some things that changed me for the great, but the other things, it's like I have very little tolerance now for very little tolerance for excuses. It's just
Right.
like, man, just shut your pie hole and
Just
do
do
it,
it.
man.
Just
Okay.
do it.
And everybody finds a way to quit. They don't find a way to win. It just drives me crazy, right?
Right.
And so that's what when I went into 75 Hard is when a real mental shift happens. So when you're training people, Nate, when let's go about how you do it. Do you have physical clients, and do you have clients uh that are virtual? How do you do do you
Right.
have a gym of your own, or do you have a gym that you use? Let's get into the meat and potatoes of how you run that, how you do this.
Certainly. Certainly. So we have our own gym. We built out our own full garage gym, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest with you. I have a lot of gym memberships, but I prefer the garage gym now.
Mhm.
That being
Mhm.
said, I do train people in person, but that would be my higher ticket client, to be honest with you. I find a little bit more value helping people as a remote coach, and the reason be it is that you know the way that personal training and the way that the fitness industry has been at a whole, and this is part of the reason why I left the industry to come back. I think there's a big gaping hole in the industry as far as how people are served and how people are set up for success versus set up for failure. And what I mean is when you go see a personal trainer or you go to a gym, most gyms or most trainers are really set on like the Baskin Robbins approach of fitness. And what I mean is they give you a taste, but they need you to keep coming back to get more because that's how they pay their bills, right? And it's understandable. I mean, I was in the business for a while, and that's why every year there's a different fad coming out, and there's a different type of workout fad and a different type of nutrition fad. And we're telling all the clients this, do this, do this. This is what's hot in 2021, or this is what's hot in 2019. This is what's hot in 2022. And some of it works, but it always works to a degree to when it stops working. And the only reason why it ever worked in the beginning is because you're putting somebody who's never done it in a complete state of shock. Their body gets used to it, it plateaus. They don't get that initial shock anymore. They don't get the initial results anymore. They lose their excitement and they stop going with it. So kind of to Arielle's point that she was saying earlier, we don't necessarily specifically say do any one type of exercise. We really get with the client and get on their level to see what type of exercise intrigues them. If I have a client who wants to do all body weight workouts and they don't want to touch any weights whatsoever, well, I have the skill sets and the knowledge to put together a routine for that person and the database of exercises that I can give you and say, okay, well, this is what I want you to do. Let's talk about it after a day and let's talk about your experience. If you have somebody who wants to do just bands and they don't want to walk into a gym either, but they don't want to do body weight, then we could put a routine for them together with that, or just kettlebells, or if they want to do just resistance training, or if they want to do just machines. So it's going to be based off of the individual completely. But then it's also going to be based off of a philosophy that everybody knows from the beginning that there is no one way to achieve results, right? I think a lot of times when you go to a trainer, a lot of times the confusion gets out is because the trainer or the PT or whoever you're talking about, they like to talk about their philosophy if it's the one size fits all approach to exercise. Well, I don't believe that to be true. I believe that everybody's philosophy works. I really believe
Mhm.
it does. It's just about understanding why you're doing it and how long you're doing it. For example, I was in a muscle building phase for about 10 years, and I built muscle very good for about 10 years until I hurt my back because I didn't change my training phase for so long. So there's an example of something that was very great actually turning into something that's very bad because I overtrained my body. So I want to help people avoid that situation. I want them to understand that everything works. It's just about having it in phases and making sure that you're doing the appropriate phase and anticipating the appropriate result. And if you do that, then your motivation should never get too much out of whack. Now, we do have clients who they want their, not to sound negative, but they want the hand holding and they want
Right.
the exclusive experience, and they're willing to pay top dollar for that, which I'm okay with because I definitely want to make my time available to help however they want to be helped. But that's more of a top dollar client versus your client who doesn't necessarily need all the hand holding. They just want to know what they're doing and is it what's right and is it what's best for them. And they need to get it from a credible source who's not trying to push just one narrative of what works, but being honest about why you're doing it and how long you need to do it and what the anticipated results are. Well, then that's going to be our client most of the time because we're going to be able to communicate with them pretty much on on the speed of a text and be able to give them updated workouts on a daily basis and some of the philosophies of making sure they're holding themselves accountable with daily pictures, and we can see all this stuff too. It just helps us keep on track to make sure we're getting the results.
Right. Well, those daily pictures are important. I'll tell you what, 75 hard.
Oh
I
yeah,
have that body morphia you talk about because even myself, I'm looking to go down a weight bracket. Believe it or not, at 60 years old, I want to compete one time in this jujitsu. It's hard to find people my age and my size that want to throw down. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And I want to get after it, man. I want to try it one time, right? It's
Yeah,
just I'm just competitive that way, and so I'm going to drop another weight class, to heavyweight instead of ultra heavyweight, and I want to see if I can find another 60-year-old that wants to get after it, and but I'm not ready to get after it with these 30-year-olds, some freaking wrestling, muscle head that's going
right.
to take my knee out. But uh, I so I have that. So tell me how. Well, first we'll go. Okay, Jose, let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys know when I'm doing that because I'm doing that this year. This is
All
gonna
right,
happen this
all
year.
right.
Um, uh, the well, first of all, what's your website? I want to put that out here while we're in notes. What's the website called that you guys have?
It's lifefitnessgroup.com.
Hold on a second. GROUP. Man, I should have had this out here already. Life. Make sure I have that right. I put that in the chat right now. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Life Fitness Group. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay. Good. All right. So, yeah, I want to talk about that. So let's talk about how this works now. So obviously, when you talk about a group, it's like anything else, right? You got a tribe, you got a group, and something like that. So
Right.
let's say you have a client that wants to come your way. I'm pretty stoked about this. I don't know. You can tell I'm pretty passionate about this because this is in my wheelhouse. I knew when I saw you, Nate, and I read up on you, and then I read about your wife. I'm like, and then you guys been together since you're like little. My parents are still married today. They're 61 years now, but they were married at 18 and 16.
Nice.
My folks, they weren't high school. They weren't sweethearts. They met, but they got together at 18 and 16 and got married. And
That's awesome.
so that was something else that kind of attracted me to you guys. Like, and these guys are like a little power couple here. And then to know that you've had issues, or you have yourself, Nate, that have issues with being heavy, and then you have family members, because this is all the same thing with me. And then to have your wife on the mental health issues. Listen, you want to talk about a pandemic? This is the pandemic,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
Of people, we have a bad pandemic because people are not healthy.
Yep.
So,
Agreed.
right, and if anything COVID's done, it's done two things. It's either made you super lazy or super motivated to get healthy. One of the two is happening, right?
Right.
So it's up to you what you're gonna which path you're gonna take. Either I'm gonna sit on my ass and be all wham wham about it, or I'm gonna do something about it. So uh, if somebody's coming to you now and they go to life fitness your lifefitnessgroup.com, what will they see at this point? What are they looking at, and how do they get involved with you, and how does this life fitness work for people? Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so the first thing is when you go on the site, you can just read up a little bit about us
Mhm.
and get a little bit of a more understanding of, sort of how we're here to help and what we're here to offer. The first step would be to go through the site and submit your information so we can book a initial consultation for you. With the consultation, it's not just a sales pitch. It's really an idea for us to understand what you're trying to achieve and to see if we can be a tool for you to achieve your results. If we can give you the tools you need to get you in the right direction with the right motivation and for the right reasons, then we definitely want to be there for you. But at the same time, as Arielle alluded to earlier, if we discover that potentially what you're looking for is not what we can specialize in helping you with, then we can certainly put you in the right direction in that regard too. One of the commitments that we've made to ourselves is that we really want to leave everybody in a better position after we meet them than where we found them at. And that's in every situation, whether we can serve the person and they can help us and we can help them, or vice versa. We still want to leave them in a better situation. Which is why, when you look at our experience and you look at, our knowledge, we can help people avoid a lot of the hiccups that I think the industry as a whole, fitness anyways, leads people down. And that's really what we want to focus on. We want to focus on making sure that we can get people out of that perpetual cycle of the New Year's resolutions where people have to build themselves up, 6 or 7 months just to make a change because they don't know what to expect. We want to make sure they have a 24/7 hour resource so they can know exactly what to expect and when they want to expect it. So once they book the consultation, then we can make a determination as to what's going to be the best for that person based on their needs, and we'll make a recommendation. If it makes sense for them to work with us, we can build a plan and we can literally start working with the client within 24 hours after our initial consultation.
Yeah, this time we're like a really laser focused kind of concierge type of service for people. There's no cookie cutter when it comes to people's mental and physical well being. So we really keep that in mind, and that is what comes first for anyone looking to start with us.
So it looks like to me, when you talk about this is something that I feel too, that in life, right? If we want to be a better basketball player, we get a basketball coach, right? If we want to get a better, unfortunately, we don't. If people would go get a financial coach, it would probably help out too, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
right. Instead of just trying to do everything on their own, and so it seems to me that your group, you are a tag team now that's going to take somebody from this is your physical side. I'm going to put this together. This is your mental side. These are the things that are going to come up, and before they become an issue, we're going to try and help work through that. If this is what I'm hearing. I mean, you guys are like, uh, uh, a personal coach at this time is really what your business is about. So able to reach across all states or worldwide, as might say, because you can be remote. You don't have to be in the gym and have Nate going and being a professional counter per se.
Right.
Mhm.
Correct.
Right.
And because here's the thing, my coach says is my jiu-jitsu coach says this all the time. And when we get to class, we get going on jiu-jitsu. He goes, it's your responsibility to get to the gym and do what you got to do. So you have like you're going to have a coach for that side of things.
Right.
And so we come on and uh, uh, we come on. I just looked at your site while we were talking. This is how raw this is when we came together, because I've been in Georgia for the last week. When I was that's why I was on the airplane, as a matter of fact, when I was talking to you. uh I was trying to get it together on the airplane when I was coming home yesterday. And so uh I was like, this is I'm pretty passionate about this, because if it wasn't for Ronnie helping me, the way he did, uh, mentally, I would have struggled, and I didn't even get to where I was physically with him until I got some tools and did things on my own. So is this a combined effort area when do you guys do your consultations together? Is that what you guys do? Just like what we're doing here, like you guys together on this call and
We
moving together?
we really try to. That can take a little bit of scheduling miracles at time, but yeah, we certainly try to make sure our clients understand the full scope of the service that they're getting.
Mm-hmm. And who's now, listen, is this a pandemic business that was grown? Was this out of COVID? You decided to do this? I mean, because you left a financial thing, Nate, probably because you feel that there's more purpose here. Usually we're driven by purpose more than money, and then money kind of comes because of purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one of those things. I tell my children all the time. I said, go after something you're passionate about, because if not, you're going to be going to work every day and not. I get to go to this karate studio every day, walk around barefoot, and get on the mat and train and do what I want to do, and then go out and help others do the same thing. So, how
So
does that go?
I think yes and no. So again, the idea initially came to us back in 2006, 2007. It was literally one of the first things we ever wanted to do together. And again, life got in the way. But kind of to answer your question, the reason why I say yes is that with COVID happening, that put a highline focus on mental health again. That put a highline focus on people's physical well-being. But what it also did, it also created an opportunity of acceptance, I think, on a larger scale for remote services. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean is what I learned in insurance and in financial industry is that in order to scale a business, to get the monetary rewards that you want, you have to position yourself where you can assist the most people and actually have something of substance to give to a lot of people. When I looked at my time in fitness before and sort of the issues that I found in the business is that in order to serve a lot of people in a one-on-one fashion, it has to be an in and out kind of cookie cutter process. And that's what Arielle was talking about before. Even as a trainer, if I want to make great money as a one-on-one trainer, it's unfortunate to the clients, but usually what a trainer has to do is repeat the same workout a lot, or they have to overwork themselves a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the client is the one who feels the blunt of that, because the trainer's just trying to make an income for his family, the client's just trying to get their goals, but the industry is not aligned properly to help the trainer get to their goals while actually helping the client get to theirs. It's the nature of the business. Somebody has to suffer, unfortunately. So this created an opportunity for us where I really felt like, and this is what we've always been putting our heads in, well, how can we be successful in a route where nobody has to suffer? Meaning we can give the best service possible to as many people as possible and nobody has to suffer. Well, to give the best service possible to people in fitness and in mental health, and we talk about this all the time, you almost have to have the goal is to put yourself out of business. And what I mean is, when a client comes to us, we don't have a client coming to us with the anticipation that they're going to work with us for the rest of their lives because we need that income. It's the exact opposite. If you have a 9-month goal, then we may do a 6-month plan, and very well having and understand at the end of 6 months, you should have all the tools you need at that point to do this for the rest of your life. You should be able to get the 3 months by yourself. And then you should never have to pay a professional again to tell you this stuff, unless you absolutely want to, and you're just doing it for the camaraderie at that point. You're not doing it because you don't feel like you know how anymore. So this gave us a platform where we can give that sort of confidence, that sort of commitment, but also that sort of service where we're literally trying to put ourselves out of business for every client that we bring in, knowing that if we do so and really empower that person to change their life and pay it forward, that what will come back to us in return will be more clients, more opportunities, and more for business. And we even had to test this. When I first started this, when I got into the financial service business, I got into the wrong mindset of where I told people, and this is literally, it's even a shame to say, but I used to think I won't do anything unless you could pay me enough to do it. Like that was literally my mindset. Like if you want my time, you need to pay me X amount for me to do this. When I got back into the fitness business, the mindset was the exact opposite. I said I won't do anything unless I would absolutely do it for free. Like unless I felt like it was purposeful and it's going to move me to be the person that I need to be, there's no price tag on it that I'd be willing to do it on. So I used that same philosophy as I started bringing on clients. And when I first started bringing on clients, I wasn't even asking for compensation. I was really just trying to put people in a better situation. And I would have people reach out to me, reach out to my wife, and they'd reach out on social and say, hey, this information that you told me is working so good. I have 6 people that are doing it now. And my initial reaction was, well, you better tell them that I told you that information. Like, tell them it came from me. But then my wife had to talk some sense into me, and she said, well, that's what you said you wanted your mission to be. You're paying it forward. And if that one person that you helped has now helped 6 more people, then you've helped 6 people. And that must have meant that you were very successful today. And truthfully, that's how we gauge the business. You know, if we can have that sort of impact on a daily basis, then we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I see. So, tell me, Ariella, what do you think the mental health, the pandemic has done for people mentally? What have you seen?
Man, it's been really difficult. I think it depends kind of on your culture and kind of your family culture and how you deal with stress. But I would have to say anxiety is at an all-time high.
Hmm.
People are going in one or two directions when it comes to fitness. Either they're working out all the time or they're completely sedentary now because so many industries have gone virtual. A lot of jobs that were performed, in a call center or you had to go in, those offices have closed and everyone's living and working in their homes to a greater extent than we've ever seen. So I feel like there has been, a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, again, a lot of grief. People have lost multiple family members, friends to COVID. Um, it's a really stressful situation, just even for, I feel like our younger generation is having a really hard time with like their social skills and either being at home for a year or longer there in the beginning to now getting back into life and trying to navigate the waters of just everyday stress and the pandemic. So it really depends, but I feel like I've seen a lot more stress and anxiety and people really not knowing how to deal with it, not being able to access mental health care. It's really crazy that it's really hard to find a therapist right now. You can have the best of the best insurance. That doesn't mean that a therapist's 3-month waiting list is going to get any shorter. Um,
Right,
Probably
which I find amazing because this is once again this is something that's even happened in my own house. Like I told you with Daniel, having not having somebody, and he's got good insurance. He's got the TV type insurance, right? And still
Mhm.
waiting lists, or we're not taking anybody new. And I'm like, how in the world? I think this is what intrigues me about what you guys have because you have degrees and you can help mentally somebody get in a better space. I don't think it's always about diagnoses as much as it diagnosis sometimes as it is having that ear and saying, hey, here's some tools,
Mhm.
try this and this. And and ultimately, right, I'm sure you agree with this too, Nate, at some point, I don't really care what mental health you're doing. There has to be a shift in your mental thinking. I mean, there's no magic pill. There's
Yep.
no nothing. You're either going to have to, okay, I'm going to change this. And now I'm going to look for ways that I can change it. That's just the way it has to be. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't care if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to get off drugs, I don't want to drink and all this kind of stuff. There has to be a mental shift. And I think that's what your group thing talks about. Now, I don't know. Do you guys have a Facebook group also? Do you have clients get together and talk, or is it more one-on-one? How does that look for you guys self? Do you have that type of page, or what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we're building a private Facebook community as well for
Hmm.
just clients who can communicate for accountability, but also, share similar stories. People who are going through similar things. We know that the community is always going to be the best way to leverage change for people when they can have that additional support system.
That's good. Now, Nate, on your side, so do you do a nutrition side for people? Is that what? Okay, what's so let's go. Tell me the jobs between you two. How do you guys work together, and what does one person do? What's the other person do? So, Nate, what's yours, and then what's Ariella's? How do you guys work together? Who
Yeah,
does what?
so basically, I oversee everything fitness related and even nutrition related. Arielle lets me oversee that, but she's also studies in this as well. She's been with me every step of the way, but she's also I recently got I'm very big on education, and really investing in myself yearly to try to extend my knowledge. And Arielle's the same way. So just recently, and I've already had 7 certifications in PT, but I went and I bought every single NASM master certification possible just so I can have the newest stuff. And Arielle's done that as well. So she's got her NASM in progress too. So she also helps with some of the programming now, and she can help me understand, if I put something together that I think should be pretty easily accepted, from a female's perspective, she may challenge that, make sure that I have a different level of understanding. With the nutrition, I'm a certified sports nutritionist as well. So I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a registered dietitian. So there's so much that I can do within that scope. But I do help with nutrition. I do give recommendations for macronutrients and recommendations for sample meal plans. I don't, again, we don't ever promote any fad diets just because I'm not a believer of them. I do believe that any diet or any drastic change you do to yourself nutritionally will elicit a result. My question to that is, what is that result, and is it a long term result, and was it worth it, and is it sustainable, and if it's not sustainable, then why do it? So our process is more just having everybody understand a healthy balance eating, and then eating what's right for the individual. Some people, their bodies are more receptive to carbs. Some people, if they have just a few amount of carbs, they'll hold water, they'll bloat. Their bodies are different than what my body may be, and that person has to individually know that. They have to know what signs to look for, and we help them with that too, so they can look for those signs and then set their macronutrients, appropriately to whatever their goals may be. But we're always a fine believer of that. Everything is great, but nothing outweighs just the science of understanding calories. So if you're taking in too many more calories than you're burning, then you're going to gain weight. You're not going to lose weight. And if you're trying to
Right.
lose weight, there has to be
Yeah,
some sort of
that's
deficit, right?
that's
So
the magic. That's
I
the
mean,
magic formula, right?
right. So we can dress it up and wrap it up and put a pretty ribbon on it and call it so many different things. But really, our job and what we try to get our clients to understand is it's not nearly as confusing as the industry makes it sound. And a lot of why the industry makes it sound that way is because it's a business, and we have to sell it, and it has to be intriguing to a consumer. But we kind of want to take the confusion away and just streamline it and make it as simple as possible, is understanding that everybody's going to be slightly different. But there's no magic pill. It's just a matter of understanding what works for your body, and us going through a process of that together to finding what works for you long term and learning how to just do that.
You forgot you do marketing too.
Oh, and and I do the marketing. Obviously Arielle, she handles everything mental health status, but she keeps me in line from a business component too. Keep in mind that fitness big time has always been my passion, but I'm a sales guy at heart too. So I can be a little bit more gung ho. That sounds like a great idea. Let's just do it, and I'll run through the wall and try to do it. She'll make sure that we have a little bit more sound testing protocols in place before we just try to put anything like that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so. So talk to me, Ariella. What you do now for a client when they come in?
So for me, I'm doing more of the assessment part, really getting to understand what that person's goals are. Do they have any like mental roadblocks or things that we're really going to have to overcome in order to move the way that we want to as far as their fitness plan? Some people we just need to get out of their comfort zone. They're saying that they want to achieve something, but their behavior and the manner of talking about the plan that you put together um, kind of indicates that maybe they're not as ready as they think they are. So I'm kind of picking up on that kind of language, trying to figure out, do we need to do something a little more mental fitness focused? So I'm also certified as a TIR facilitator. That stands for Traumatic Incident Reduction. It's kind of a misnomer because it doesn't necessarily have to be focused on trauma, but it's a very awesome way to kind of quickly process any problem that you're facing. It can be a person, a place, an event. And it really helps you to evaluate, well, what is that thing about? Why is it holding me back? Why does it keep coming back up in my life? So again, that's more of our top tier kind of service. If you really find that something's happening over and over again that's keeping you from your goals, I'm able to assist with that, to just really dissolve it, really.
Yeah.
I think Nate can attest to it.
Oh yeah.
He's had
Yeah, I think that, listening to both of you, I think that um, this is unique. Unique that you have a husband and wife that are looking at. They go so well together. The physical and mental side to just health in general. I see it myself, like you spoke about too, Ariella, that our children today, this pandemic has put so much fear into them. I mean, can you imagine? Listen, when I was in junior high, I was pretty sure I was going to Vietnam War. I mean, that's what was going on at the time.
Right.
And when I was in elementary school, and Vietnam War is and of course it passed before I ever it ever even got close to me. But um, so I mean that this is what our children grow up with. The mask and there's people dying, and I just can't imagine 10-year-olds. That's what they think about all the time. Well, if I don't have a mask, I'm going to die.
Right.
And uh, just what those watching them in class, and I mean. I see the same thing where some are pretty resilient, others are it's really kind of taking a toll. And I think what you guys have is something really good. I want to be I want to help be part of this and put this story of your guys's out there, at least on my platform. I've got some other friends that do podcasting that I'll probably slip your name to and get them on their platform too, and get this message out of what this looks like. You got a powerful thing there, guys. I'm not sure you understand. Having a first of all, raising 4 kids. That's what I did. I had 4 kids. That's already hard enough as it is, and you still got some young ones in there. So
Oh yeah.
so navigating that and navigating a business and working together. Okay, there's no picnic husband and wives working together sometimes, right? And navigating what that is, right? And so I know what that laugh is because I've been down that road, and so because that makes you guys even stronger, on how to work with each other. I think that what you have is super dynamic, and we're already coming up on an hour. I could sit and do this for a while now. After having this conversation with you, I think I'd like to revisit you guys again in a few months, because now that I've kind of got some of the meat and potatoes, I think I'd like to lay some stuff out and say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how we do this. And I don't know, do you guys have some clients that have really, like, do you have any clients that are in the 100 plus round of losing weight and stuff like that, Nate? Or who's your most successful story? Wouldn't need any names, but that have come to you and said, hey, you guys have really helped me mentally turn around.
Right. Right.
That's a good question.
I've had a lot of those types of stories, mentally and physically. I haven't had any 100-pound stories, not yet. I've had a female, won't use her name, recently. Actually working with her again, but I worked with her a few years ago. very similar scenario. Had a few mental roadblocks in the way of just getting committed to the goal. It wasn't even getting started necessarily, even knowing what it was. It was just always being committed. But once we were able to get past that and make the goal something outside of just the number, then she was able to get her goal. So a lot of times, when we put too much weight or too much emphasis in one thing and we put that as our only measurement of success, that in itself becomes a deterrent, and it stops us from getting it. I always tell people, if you want to lose 50 pounds, you can't just weigh yourself every day. It has to
Right.
get bigger than the 50 pounds, right? And
Yeah.
that was a great lesson. I've had a few guys that I've worked with here recently, who actually been able to put on weight, which was pretty cool because
Right.
building weight. I mean, again, me, I was always somebody who wanted to get the weight off, but in the same philosophy as losing weight, the same knowledge that you know how to lose weight is very much the same knowledge that you know how to put the weight on, especially if you have a good nutritional background. So I've had guys who've been able to put on 10 or 15 pounds within about a year's time. Which if you're a hard gainer, to actually be able to put on 10 pounds of mass in a year's time naturally is pretty phenomenal. But most importantly for those guys, what we really had to get to understand was that their self-image was the biggest issue. When they saw themselves as the scrawny guy who couldn't gain weight, they can go work out and they could say they're eating, but something subconsciously would always have them destroy their own results. Whether that was to skip a meal after they had been doing so well, they skip 2 meals, their metabolism so fast that it runs through it, or they just stop the workout and do something completely different. And they didn't even realize it until we had them track every single thing, that this is the moment that they sabotaged themselves. And this is what they were doing at that time. So they were able to overcome that as well. I mean, those type of scenarios, funny enough, are generally speaking, the most commonly seen successes that we see, because we have people tracking things, tracking what they're eating, tracking when they're working out, tracking what they're doing for activity.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people are just not, they're so much on autopilot throughout the day that they have no idea what they're not doing or what they're doing, because it's all being done some subconsciously. So just having them track it and then put it right back in front of them and asking them, does that really go in line with their goals? And if not, what do we think is the trigger that's creating that issue, and being able to have them overcome that. That's like one of the most common successes that we see. And a lot of times, it may sound simple, but I always tell people, and even when I start with my clients, I tell them, like, you have to understand that you have all the tools that you have right now to be successful, even without me. If we're going to be able to be successful, all we need is your willingness to adhere to the program that we're going to recommend, and your belief right now that you can actually make this change happen. Because if you don't believe it, then you should save your money and your time, to be honest with you. And that's really what's been working for us and what we've been seeing the biggest return on.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think, and that's probably a good segue to kind of end this. But you said something in there that I know this, and I tell my own students this here at even in martial arts training. But everybody can motivate themselves. You
Right.
know, first thing in the morning, first thing Monday, and then all of a sudden 4 o'clock runs around and motivation starts to go out the door when you've gotten life started smacking you in the head, and that's where discipline has to take over, right? If you rely on motivation, boy, you are in for a real. Everybody has great aspirations. I think everybody wants to do better in their mentally, in their head, and their first thing, and I'm going to go push through this, and they just don't have the tools that they need to have. You know, I didn't have them as much. The 75 hard gave me those tools, but I think that what you guys have is a power. It's powerful. I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys a little bit more and put this out there. I'm sure Jose will. He'll push this. I'll get together with some of my other podcasters and get your guys' story out there and continue changing people's lives like you guys do. This has been a real pleasure hour for me, because it just really hits home. A lot of things you guys talk about is right in my wheelhouse, and I think that you guys may have a key to help a lot of people. And so I've really enjoyed this hour with you guys.
Yes,
Oh, thank
yes.
you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us, Mark. Like I said, I
All
really
right.
appreciate the invite and definitely
Yeah.
appreciate the time and the
Yes.
platform. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's
So
your
I'm glad. If I get out your way, I'm out in Georgia all the time. So I don't know where in Florida. You guys are in Florida, is that correct?
We are
yes,
Orlando.
Central Florida.
You're in Orlando. So I'm telling you, every time I go out to Georgia all the time, I go to Savannah almost every 2, 3 months. And I've always said I want to drive out to Orlando just to see Disney World because I'm a Disney freak. But they have the second Disney land. We have the original, the best, the better one. But I've always wanted to see it. And if I get out your way, we're gonna go have some coffee or something. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys and your family.
That'd be
All
great.
right.
That'd be
All
great.
right, you guys.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate, man. Thanks for this hour. It was awesome, man.
Yes.
Good
Thank
power
you.
Thank you
couple.
so much.
All right,
All
guys.
right. Take care, Mark.
Bye bye.